Today we're in Aberystwyth for Ceredigion Green Party's platform event. The theme for today's event is the role of communities in the face of ongoing climate emergency. We have a wide range of local organisations and campaigning groups attending, from Extinction Rebellion, Aber Food Surplus, community energy schemes and much more. Today is going to be a day of interesting and stimulating conversations. Vital at this time that we are talking across communities and different groups are talking to each other. Towards the end of the day, we've got a wide range of speakers, to be followed by a debate Q&A session. Speakers at today's event include representatives from NFU Cymru, a speaker on deep adaptation, and Paul Allen from the Zero Carbon Britain scheme.
What I'd like to do is to rattle through in about half an hour the core parts of the Zero Carbon Britain report that we're offering to you. We begin by unpicking how we got into the mess, really. If we look back over the history of human beings, the amount of energy we use underpinning our lifestyle has just gone up and up and up and up. The captains of industry particularly recognised that we were actually producing stuff faster than it was wearing out. The problem was that soon everybody would have a bicycle, a bath and a suit. So it began a very strange twist in our story where we began deliberately designing things to consume more stuff and more energy. I looked back to the earliest example I could find. There's 4 big light bulb manufacturers like Osram, all competing to say our light bulb lasts longer, our light bulb shines brighter. But the CEOs of the 4 big companies were brought together by a businessman who said, if you form a cartel and you agree to half the life of your product, you'll sell twice as many of them. They did. Half the life of a light bulb from 2,000 to 1,000 hours and sold lots more. And it kick-started this idea of planned obsolescence. Everything from your washing machine, to your phone, to your car, to your fridge, is all deliberately designed to break at a certain point. It's not designed to last as long as possible.
Deep adaptation is a term used in Jem Bendel's paper, Deep Adaptation, a Map for Navigating Climate Tragedy. So he's a sustainability and leadership professor at Lancaster University, and he's also the person that gave a talk in Stroud that led to Extinction Rebellion being formed. The Deep Adaptation paper came out in July 2018, and it describes the unwelcome news that we've damaged the ecosystem to such a degree that it seems inevitable that the current way of life of humanity is coming to an end, and that climate is changing exponentially, and the effects are already being experienced with crop failures, food shortages, mass migrations, mass extinction of species. He has a YouTube channel called Jem Bendel, and there's lots of really good resources on there, and one of them is a short film called Grieve, Play, Love. And in the film, Jem describes his journey of integration of this knowledge from denial, sorrow, grief, rage, pain, and then emerging through all of that into a different way of being with different values, meaning and purpose.
I mean, earlier on after Paul, we talked about conversations, and I think that ties in with what Chloe was saying about reconciliation as well. And personally, I'm really pleased that we've got 2 guests now from the NFU, from the agricultural sector. That is, as a Green, I think that's a sector that we really need to be having strong conversations with. I've always said this, green-minded people and farmers really should be on the same page. So we have Abby Reader and Wyn Evans from the NFU.
If you went back 10 years ago, for the NFU to come and speak at an event like this would be unheard of. But for the NFU to engage currently, as we do with the Friends of the Earth, and we also engage with Extinction Rebellion. Our president, Minette Batters, has a very good relationship with the leaders of these organizations, and I totally and utterly welcome this. We do need to work together this. My ambitions are to farm more sustainably and environmentally friendly, and we are moving towards that. 10 years ago, we would have been using 20 tonnes of fertiliser. For economic reasons, we reduced that to 10 tonnes of fertiliser. This year, for environmental reasons, we are going to reduce the fertiliser use on our farm to 5 tonnes. I do intend, maybe in the future, putting a hydro scheme in. It is something that, connectivity to bring the power up to the farm, the 3-phase up to the farm. This is something that we do need to look at, and that will help me achieve my net zero. I do intend planting more hedges on the farm. I did think that Paul's presentation earlier was very good, and I was very happy to hear him talk about food security. In 1939, the UK imported 2/3 of its food. Now we're 60% self-sufficient, so we do need to improve on that, and we've got room to improve on that.
Sometimes when we have these discussions about climate change, as farmers we always feel like quite often the finger is being pointed at us and we're in the limelight. And quite often that will put up walls. Our businesses and our homes aren't separate. Our families live in those homes. Quite often there are generations of families living in those homes. I've got a neighbour nearby who's got 4 generations there. If you accidentally, through unintended consequences, remove a farm from a community, that has a ripple effect on the other farms within that community. It means that we lose friends. It means that probably the tractor dealer down the road doesn't get quite so much business, neither does the feed merchant. The local livestock market won't see quite so much business going through their doors, and it has this knock-on effect. So the reason these walls go up is because it's personally threatening as well as business threatening, which is why, again, it's so great to be in a room like this now having these discussions, because it does enable us to open up a bit of dialogue where we wouldn't necessarily have one. If you look at my farm in Glamorgan, it's probably the breadbasket of Wales in terms of its land. It has some of the best land in Wales because you can grow crops there. However, there are quite a lot of places on my farm where the bedrock isn't just that far below the soil, it's about that far above the soil. So there are plenty of places where you can't even get a seed. I don't really want to make this meat versus plants, but if we were going to focus on that, when we talk about sequestration, usually if you're talking about the carbon footprint of an animal, a ruminant, we're talking about gross. We're talking about the carbon footprint they put out. Nobody ever seems to look at the net. The carbon cycle with a cow is more or less circular. She will eat the grass, emit the methane. We understand that methane is quite highly heat absorbent, in fact a lot more heat absorbent than carbon. That methane will go up into the atmosphere. Within 10 to 11 years, that will have broken back down into carbon. It will be reabsorbed by the grass. The cow will eat the grass. She will emit the methane. It will go back up. And we just keep going around in a circle like that. That is what I've heard. And I heard it most recently this week from Professor, was it Miles Allen of Oxford University, talking about it as well. I'm extremely proud that my milk can be found in 98% of households here in the UK. I'm extremely proud that it's a very nutrient-dense source. And I think when we're looking at the UK as a whole, being able to grow livestock and feed people is absolutely essential. But we're now looking for the solutions to make sure that we can overcome the problems that we foresee coming. So thank you very much. I'll leave it there.
We've all got strong opinions on lots of issues, but I think we all have a strong duty when we're discussing these issues, how we move forward in the future, to avoid polarisation and division. We will not create a better world if we wag our fingers at other people. So I think that was a very important point to raise, because we are talking about people.